Welcome back to BVarsity Live. We want to spend a few minutes here before we call it a day to discuss the other baseball softball leagues we didn't get a chance to in the first segment. We did mention Highland playing very well in baseball. We just had the Highland track team on, and our thanks to them. But Highland baseball playing very well, and they look like they're going to be runaway favorites in the Southeast Yosemite League. South Yosemite League baseball, the leader is Tehachapi. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, but the thing is that in the SEYL, North is 5-1, much like Highland is. So those two teams, I mean, the
North very strong baseball tradition
too. And the non-league schedule, you look at a 15-8 overall. It'll be interesting to see what we can do. And I'm actually looking at softball right now.
You have a whole bunch of data over there.
I do.
All sorts of numbers I
like data.
In the SSL in softball, you say a big baseball game tomorrow.
Big baseball game in the SSL yesterday. Wasco 6-0, BCHS 5-1. The Eagles have kind of come on late. Wasco has been one of the better hitting teams in the county, so that'll be a big one tomorrow. Trying to see, if Wasco really kind of take a driver's seat there in the SSL if they can get that victory tomorrow. We thought Arvin was going to be in there, but they've kind of taken some lumps in league play. But it's Wasco and BCHS right now, so that'll be a lot of fun.
Flip over to softball and start in the SSL. Taft has been so good for so many years.
Right.
But this year, the team to beat right now is Wasco. They beat Taft the first time they played. Right now, just a one-game lead over Taft, but right now the Tigers in the driver's seat.
Well, and the thing is that I think in softball more than any other sport, if you get that ace in the circle, it really does.
Samantha Martinez.
Yeah, man. I mean, she can sling it right now, and I think that's the big thing is that, previously it was Arizona Pilgrim for Taft. Now she's in her second year.
College of Charleston?
Yeah. And so
Charleston Southern.
Yeah, Charleston Southern.
Yeah.
Her and Caitlin Emberson are both there. And that's the thing is that's where you could see a shift. I mean, she's really come on as the ace this year for the Tigers. And that's where you kind of see them being able to dominate because if she can strike out opponents, averaging like, 1.7 per inning.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that means they're only putting one ball in play an inning.
Right.
Or at least if you can turn that ball into an out, it's only one inning. I mean, it's difficult to score when those are the odds stacked against you. How about SYL softball? Where are we going SYL softball where Ridgeview has been so good for so many years?
Still there for now.
It is the Wolfpack.
Ridgeview 6-1, Independence attached me both 5-2, and I think it's comes down to pitching one more time. But I think you obviously have a 3-team race.
Pretty good race there.
Yeah, but if Ridgeview can kind of they've got a game today. They're at home against West. West is a team that has one win this season. Very unlikely that they'll get a second loss. Tehachapi and Independence both playing Golden Valley and East respectively. And so you got to figure going into next week, the standings are going to remain the same. So it'll be very interesting to see once they start playing each other, which will start in the first week of May as those big league rivals come out before the regular season ends.
And then SEYL softball, I want to say North is in first place.
North and Highland.
And Highland again.
Yeah, those two teams are going to kind of battle at it against each other. North 5-1 and Highland both 5-1. But there's the thing is where North has had the better non-league schedule. But could that be strength of schedule, whatever it is? They're both 5-1, so it'll be very interesting to see how that all kind of plays out.
In other sports, with Clovis Invitational and swimming this weekend, very big deal for the swimmers. It's one of those meets. Swimming, when you can swim against faster competition, your times go down. And it's a time. It is a big meet for some of those swimmers who are on the fringe of getting a Valley qualifying time. Yep. This is the weekend where they can get that time, and if they can't get it, you're starting to run out of time a little bit.
Yeah.
You got league meets, you got a last chance meet, but you're starting to run out of time to get that Valley time if you can't get it this weekend.
League meets coming up May 6th, the BC, so it'll be very interesting to see those for the Yosemite Leagues. So it'll be very interesting to see what the swimmers in town and kind of who really kind of takes that next step. We'll get into that more next week here on the show and more in Bakersfield.com and in the California.
Absolutely. It's swimming coming down to the finish line as well. In tennis, I know, Bakersfield Christian, again, has got a great team, as always. One thing I've been surprised, East High, unbelievable season right now in the SYL.
Defending D2 section champs. They beat Garces last year.
Yeah.
Caleb Johnson, once again the number one, and one of the top players once again in the Valley. He's undefeated. They're undefeated in league. You look on the other side, Stockdale once again in SWYL. They're 8-0. Brandon Park still undefeated. I believe he's still undefeated this year. Garces kind of fallen off. As far as I know, Dylan Simonson is not going to compete the rest of the year. He's not
defending Valley singles champ. He
is not on their playoff ladder.
Yeah.
So,
and that's not totally uncommon for top high school players. You focus on club season. And Dylan has, I believe it was his sophomore year, he did not compete either because of a disciplinary situation, but he did win the Valley as a junior, and now not going to play for Garces in the postseason as a senior. So his high school career appears, as far as what it looks like, to be at an end, but it was a very good career, especially as a junior, to win that Valley singles championship.
Over Daly Minor, who is still competing this year for Clovis North in his senior year.
Yeah, and he's the guy to beat, although Stockdale's Brandon Park, Caleb Johnson of East, those guys are going to have a say in that as well, and could be the guys that Minor will have to beat to get to the Valley.
And Brandon Park, Caleb's a senior. Brandon Park is only a sophomore at Stockdale, so he's got a very successful career ahead of him. So it'll be kind of interesting. They took a lot of lumps early on in the season because it is a young team for Dave Hillstead at Stockdale, undefeated in league. So it'll be interesting to see where they get seeded in team playoffs. And then obviously where he gets seeded.
Yeah, they got beat up a little bit early against a tough schedule, so the seed may not be great for that team. But
individually, he should get a top 2 or top 3 seed once we get into Valley. So it'd be interesting to see what he can do there.
And then in golf, there is not a dominant team. Stockdale's the first place team in the SWYL, but Liberty's there, Frontier is there.
Centennial won
very wide open SWYL race. In the other leagues, it drops off dramatically. The SWYL is where it's at in boys golf. Right
Highland's got a good golfer, McAllister. You have Sorensen up at Taft. Blake Keezy up at Tehachapi. I know that BCHS has a couple good individual golfers, but once again, it's going to be the SWIL is going to be very heavy in the South Valley as we get into that. The first week in May, Dakota Ochoa, the sophomore from Liberty, has been playing very well.
Sure.
DJ Simos from Frontier. Garces has a freshman.
And just a couple weeks away from the area.
Yeah, Maverick Pavletich. Stockdale, Michael Chang is still there. Last year, I think Stockdale's big team was last year, but,
but still first place
graduating.
Team.
But, Blake Borrell. So.
Hey, real quick, before we go, we did want to mention a little bit of news on the side of what's coming up next year, a new CIF rule. Man. It's going to make it easier for athletes to transfer. And the reason it's going to make it easier is because in the past, and this is all still sort of a developing situation, but the Kern High School District had a rule that superseded the state rule that said, hey, any athletically motivated transfer, if that's how the transfer is deemed, you've got to sit out an entire school year. We saw that happen to Isaiah Hill at Liberty, is probably the most prominent recent example of that.
School districts still have the availability to say you got to sit out a year, but there's got to be strong evidence towards it. This is basically just the CIF saying athletically motivated transfers at the state level, if it gets to that point, the sections, they're saying that a section can say, go ahead, just give them a 30-day sit-out if it's not a full family move.
And that is what the central section is doing at this point.
Right.
From a section level.
From a section level, the Kern High School District can still have the availability to say, no, we're going to be a little bit stricter, which with each individual case, case-by-case basis.
Yeah, and you know what? And we've only got a minute left here, but I think what we're seeing here is almost an admission by the CIF at the state and section levels that, you know what, we cannot police all of this. There's too many families, first of all, who are doing it legitimately, but second of all, who have a legitimate reason to transfer, but second of all, maybe don't have a legitimate reason to transfer, but are willing to make it look like they do, and they're willing to fight it and appeal it, and it costs money, it takes time. The sections of the state have just effectively said, you know what, you don't necessarily have free reign, but it's a lot freer than it used to be.
You still can't follow a club sport. That's still illegal. Schools still cannot recruit athletes from one high school to the other, so that is still a no-no. But you know what? We're still talking about the 2% that are athletically motivated. Same thing with the 2% that are going to move on from high school to college and get scholarships. Small, but
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a developing situation. We will have to see how it affects Kern County. Transfer's not a huge deal here, but maybe they will become one day. So we'll see. Yep. That's our show for today, everybody. Our thanks to the Liberty Track and Field team, the Highland Track and Field team for sending some of their brightest stars to spend some time with us. Our producers, Chris McCullough and Charmaine Cleveland. And that's Trevor Horn. I'm Zach Ewing. We'll see you next week on BVarsity Live.
Bye, everybody.
Looking deep down the left side, Mendeville into the end